the school of Stoicism was founded by Zeno of Citium. The story of how he founded the philosophy is a great one to be sure. As the story goes, Zeno was at one time a relatively wealthy merchant, but he lost everything in a shipwreck. With no money or possessions, he found his way to Athens around 300 BCE. With nothing better to do, he found his way to a bookshop and started reading about the city's greatest philosophers, mainly Socrates. Hey, shameless plug, I did Socrates, check it out. After some time, he gained his own followers and founded the philosophy of Zenoism, but the philosophy was later changed to Stoicism, most likely because the founders were not perfect and to avoid the discipline becoming a cult of personality. The name of Stoicism comes from the stoa policulae, I think I got that one right, or the painted porch, where Zeno and his followers would gather to discuss their ideas. One of the main teachings of Stoicism is virtue. Well, there's that word again. Let's see what the virtues are today. Well, we have wisdom, temperance, justice, and courage. Looks like the only difference is wisdom instead of prudence. But prudence is defined as showing care and thought for the future, so I would say that they're more or less the same. Only through these virtues and self-restraint can we bring improvement to others. I like to think about it as getting your house in check before you offer help to others. In other words, how can you help others if you can't even help yourself? Today, when one may hear the word stoic, they may think of an individual drained of emotion who cannot be broken, though at the time it was a rational way of thought. Let me take you back to the start of the story. Zeno lost everything, and I mean everything, to an event that was completely out of his control. It wouldn't surprise me if anyone in this situation would curse the gods and mope around crying, "Oh, woe is me." Hell, admittedly I would most likely do that very thing. But what makes the Stoics so special is the fact they just don't. So many people just allow themselves to be governed by their immediate emotion. They think and do in the heat of the moment, but the Stoic will set aside time for himself to think rationally. If the Stoic finds it necessary, he would remain silent. Let me remind you that the Stoic need not be an emotionalist, though he must think with a clear mind to make the best judgment possible. The Stoic believes that the world is governed by a web of cause and effect called logos. Most of what happens to you or anyone else is out of your control. However, you can control how you behave towards whatever it is you are facing. Or one can say a man is troubled not by events, but by the meaning he gives to them. So saith Epictetus. So instead of trying to imagine a perfect world with perfect people and perfect circumstances, the Stoic would find himself in the world we are in, and seek betterment of himself instead of trying to force the world to be better. It is important to separate the things you can and the things you cannot control. If something falls outside of what you can control, getting upset over that thing is, in the mind of a Stoic, meaningless at best and nothing short of foolish at worst. Everyone has a different life, therefore different views or perspectives on life. But no matter what you have done or experienced, Stoicism can be of great benefit to you. No matter your income nor status, everyone can become a Stoic. Right, you're not so certain? Fair enough. Well, let me introduce you to Epictetus, a man who was once owned as a slave, and Marcus Aurelius, a great Roman emperor. Two men from opposite sides of life, both greatly benefited by Stoicism, and will most likely have their own videos going into the future. The Stoic believes that we do not become depressed due to bad things happening, but unexpected bad things. I know this to be true from experience. Recently I, as so many others, have lost my grandmother to the sickness making the rounds at this time. When I got the news, I knew her chances of survival were slim to none. She lasted almost 3 weeks, and when the good Lord called her home, I was not too surprised. I had 3 weeks to mourn, and when it happened, I was less saddened than even I was expecting. Don't get me wrong, I was pretty torn up, but much less than I thought. For the Stoic to gain happiness, you must better yourself. Are you better today than you were a week ago? Yes? Well then, that's good. So many people try to fill the empty void with material things, with the stuff of the earth, whether it be a new car, a big house, or the fight for the next promotion. But to truly gain happiness, long-term happiness, and life satisfaction, we must always be searching for self-improvement. We must only gauge our own success on ourselves. Comparing ourselves to anyone else is not a fair comparison. Now, if you wish to become a Stoic, the single most important thing you must do is change your mindset. As said before, you must separate what you can and cannot control. You can do this by examining your initial reactions to whatever comes your way. If you are in control of that thing, then step back and take time, if you have it of course, to deliberate and find the best answer you can. If you have no control, it is better to leave it be and ignore it. As an example, example, someone yells at you, whether it be a customer, your boss, or just a rando on the street. You have no control over what others say, so it's best to just move on. When you can't determine what is and is not in your control, set your goals within your control. As an example, I will use myself. I am a welder. When I weld, I do not set the goal of making sure the weld will hold forever, but rather I set it to make the strongest weld I can. I cannot control when the weld will fail, nor the forces it will have to withstand, but I know that the weld will hold for as long as I can make it. Just a side note for the one or two other welders out there, yes, I am good enough to have this mindset. Now I know that excuse may not work, but that only gives me a good segue to move on to the next point. And that point is to slow down and breathe. When someone insults you, remember that the only way to be harmed by an insult is to believe that you have been harmed. For all decisions, you will always make mistakes if you live in the moment. Just stop, slow down, and think. Stoicism helps us steer through life whether the waters be calm or raging. And if your ship is to sink, then remember that, in the end, life is never incomplete if it is an honorable one. And let us take peace in the fact that we had a chance to live, even if it was a little shorter than we would have liked. Now take care.